Welcome to Yoga and Ayurveda Center, Restorative Yoga Training and Immersion. This is the practice for day one, a practice for contentment. Today we're going to stretch the spine in all 6 directions that it can go, incorporating all principles of movement, which leaves the body feeling fully supported, rested, and content. For today's practice, you're going to need 1 to 2 bolsters, a stack of blankets, maybe 2 or 3, 2 blocks, and a strap. Let's get started bringing one of the bolsters behind you. And then you're going to take one of your blankets and fold it in half, as if you could create a pillow. Put it at the top of the bolster. And that's going to be used to support the head. You'll bring the soles of the feet together. Let the knees splay out wide. And then we're going to take blocks and bring them right underneath the knees or the thighs for support. And we're going to do this even if you're hypermobile and you feel like you don't need the support. You can always take blankets and pad the blocks if you feel like you need additional support. And then begin to recline back onto the bolster. And if you're a little bit taller, you may have to scoot the hips further away from the bolster to leave room for the head. As you recline back, begin to let the fronts of the shoulders roll open, the chest spreads, collarbone spreads wide. How's that? Try it now. Is that better? Okay. And you want to make sure that the forehead is higher than the chin. Sometimes if the forehead goes back too far and the chin lifts, we come into a bit of a back bend, and this can be disrupted for the regulation of the nervous system. And just start to relax back into the pose. You always have the option of using a strap here. If you decide to use a strap, you would make a big loop with the strap at home. As you loop it through, you'll take it, drop it over your head, and bring it all the way to the low back, as if the base of the strap could rest right around the sacrum. Then take the strap and lift the blades of your feet up. Slip it underneath your feet, but move the metal buckle away from your feet, so that as you tighten the strap, you don't irritate the skin with that buckle. And if you're comfortable and you prefer this pose without the strap, then I invite you to experience the pose in whatever way feels right for you today. And so we bring the blocks underneath the knees so that there's absolutely no tension and no strain in the thighs or the outer hips. Remember that our intention is that you have no sensation in the body. And as you begin to settle into the pose, you may sense that the blanket is coming to the tops of the shoulders, offering full support for the cervical spine. Send your attention to your arms as they lay right at the sides. For a moment, see if you can lift the shoulders and then re-tuck the shoulder blades. And as you drop your head back, if you haven't already, you can allow your eyes to close. And as you start to arrive in this shape, check in with yourself, noticing if any place in your body is asking for any additional support. Notice if your blocks need to be a little higher. Maybe you need additional blankets underneath your head. If you're using a strap, should it be less or more tight? And just begin to feel a sense of settling in softly for the practice. Once you feel that you've arrived into the pose, take a moment to scan your body and just notice if there are places where you're holding tension, places that you might invite to soften or relax. Scan the face. Notice if you're holding tension in your jaw, in the corners of your eyes. Checking in with the outer hips. Looking for total surrender in the body. And if you notice that maybe you're holding a little bit of tension in the shoulders, you can always create an arm pillow. Slide the arm pillow right underneath the forearm for support, and that's going to take the tension out of the shoulder area. Over time, you might start to turn your attention towards the rise and fall of the breath. In a restorative yoga practice, we don't create the sound of ujjayi, but we're not warming the body, and it's not necessary. Nonetheless, we can still bring that presence and that conscious awareness to the breath. If the mind becomes busy and the body becomes restless, the breath can be that touchstone for your intention. Maybe take advantage of this opportunity to notice what part of your body is feeling your breath the most. At times we have a sense that the whole body is being breathed equally, or you may feel the breath in one particular place, such as the upper chest. If so, you can always invite the intention to rest on the movement of the body and the breath, just as it is today. And throughout your practice, you may notice just the human experience of it all. The thoughts that you're thinking, noises you hear, even emotions that come up. And just remember that it's not your role to stop those things. Once you become aware that your intention has gone somewhere other than your body and your breath, your role is simply to bring the awareness back. Invite the breath to become a little bit more full. And allow the breath to move on its own. You don't have to add or take away. For the next few moments, just give yourself permission to be right here in this shape. The supported version of Supta Baddha Konasana. The original yogis believed that this pose was good for fighting anxiety and depression, and it is very calming for the nervous system. So allow yourself to enjoy being in this position, knowing that it's so different than the positions that we're normally in. We're not moving with a sense of urgency right now. We're just enjoying the stillness of the pose. And as you continue to give the weight of the body over into the props, allowing yourself to be supported for possibly the first time in a long time, notice what contentment feels like in your own body, in your own life. What does it mean to be content for you? Could it be the cultivation of increased balance in your schedule? Or possibly just taking the time to turn inward to practice? And so today in our sequence, we're working with moving the spine in every direction that it can move, so that we take care of ourselves holistically. We'll be side stretching, twisting, back bending, forward folding, and resting. So just know that your role today is simply to take care of yourself. Allow your breath to deepen. Let the next few breaths be a little bit more full. As the breath deepens into the body, take your hands outside of your knees or your thighs. You may like to move one knee at a time here. Use the hands to move the right knee in, and then the left. If you're using a strap, slowly slip the feet out of the strap. Bring the feet onto the mat. And then slowly roll onto your right side, using your left hand for support as you press your way up to sit. Keeping your bolster where it is, slide it right up against your right hip. You might choose to keep your blanket there, or you might choose to bring one of the blocks beyond the bolster for support for your hand. And with the bolster up against the right hip, so we're going to bring the bolster right behind you and kind of turn over on your side. And we're going to go into a side stretch. So you can bring the blanket onto the bolster, if that feels good. And then extend the right arm long. Let the hand rest on a block. Lay down on the side of the face, the right ear. Notice how you feel and where you're holding any tension. So you may need, for some of us, an extra blanket underneath the head and the upper body for support. Let's try that. Okay. Higher level. Would you like a blanket over the block? Okay. And then the left arm can fall wherever it's comfortable. You can bring it onto an arm pillow, as he's done right here. You can pat it with a block. You can stretch it out overhead next to the right arm. Kind of play around with your body. Pat the knees. If the floor is hard or if your knees are sensitive or uncomfortable, you can even bring blankets underneath the ankles or the hips. So you want to make sure that the body is fully supported. And a lot of times as we get into these restorative poses, we're not sure what it is that we're going to need. So get into the pose and start to breathe, letting the breath flow in and flow out. And then notice where you're holding tension. Notice what needs to be patted, what needs to be supported in your practice today. Your role is to find what feels restful for you. There's no right or wrong here. The intention is to restore. And when we think about that word restore, it simply means to bring back to life. So we want to find a shape in which we can truly receive. This is a very gentle lateral stretch for the spine, allowing the head to be very heavy, just letting the knees rest, whether they stack or whether they separate. And again, if you have hard floors underneath you, you can always put a blanket under one or both of your knees for support. And just see if you can allow your eyes to grow a little bit heavy. And if it's comfortable for you, allow the eyes to close. Really resting your attention on the rise and the fall of your own breath. Knowing that it's very important that you feel supported. If at any point you need extra support, please give it to yourself. You can always add in some fuzzy socks, a cozy blanket, your favorite pillow, whatever you need so that you feel fully cared for in your practice today. slowly begin to deepen your breath. So if your left arm is extended out overhead, bring the left hand back to the left side in front of the face. And then we'll all press into the left palm to straighten the left arm and begin to pull the right arm to the right side of the bolster, lift the chest. Keeping what you have, you're going to turn to face the top of the mat with each hand on either side of the bolster. On an inhale, really lift the chest, find length in the spine. And as you exhale, slowly lay the belly down on the bolster, coming in to a prone twist here. The belly, the diaphragm, and the chest lay on the bolster. The head can turn out over the right shoulder. And if that feels too intense, you can bring it back towards your knees. And there are a few areas that you really want to pay attention to. Notice your feet and ankles, if you need any additional padding in this area. And then we want to pay special attention to the knees. You may need to adjust your blankets or even add a blanket here. And then notice how the shoulders feel. If you've got some tension in the shoulders, you may need arm pillows here. And to create the arm pillows, if you did not create one earlier, you simply take your blanket and fold it accordion style, tri-fold. So if it's open like this, we make the arm pillow and we rest the forearm right there just to relieve some of the tension in the shoulders. And as you begin to settle into the pose, notice your breath. Imagine that you can see your breath right into the back of the heart space. So when we talk about the back of the heart space, we're talking about this area right here between the shoulder blades. Imagine that you could send your breath right here. Fill up the back body. And then scan the body and look for places where you're holding on to tension. Imagine that your breath is like your own personal energy worker, and you're sending it to all of the places in the body that need stillness, that need release. start to deepen the breath. Bring the palms of the hands down to the mat. And then press into the hands to lift the chest. Take a big inhale. And we're going to pick up the bolster and bring it down here so we can get the same thing on the other side. So changing perspective, you'll bring your bolster over to the left side of the mat. And then we're going to take the block and bring the block right up overhead. Extend the left arm long so that the hand rests on the block. And then we're going to lay the left waist down over the bolster, taking your time getting into the shape. Relax the head. Let the head be heavy. Notice where you might need additional padding, maybe between the knees. Do you need more blankets? If you need arm pillows. One more? Okay. How is that? Good? Okay. Notice where the body is holding tension. And start to take a few deep breaths. You might cradle the head or close the eyes. Whether the knees stack or separate, allow yourself the shape that feels the most restful for you today. Again, just remember that you can pad the knees, especially if they're feeling sensitive. Your right arm can stay down, can be by your side, can drop in front of you. Can let it slip behind you, or even sweep it up and over the head. Really noticing what feels the most comfortable for you today. And if you notice that the position that you have that right arm in is causing tension in the shoulder, try something different. Remembering that the goal of restorative yoga is that the body would be fully supported. Knowing that there are days when it might feel very easy and natural to rest. And then you're going to have other days when the body or the mind can feel restless. Remind yourself that you have time and you've carved that time out to take care of yourself. And so in a way that is patient and loving, gentle, compassionate, bring your awareness back to this moment. Notice how you're being supported. Notice what the body is experiencing in this very moment. For a lot of us, the breath is a great anchor. If the breath is a good anchor for you, then I would invite you to return to the breath. One of the goals of this practice is stillness of the mind. Allow the breath to begin to deepen, knowing that as the breath becomes a little bit fuller and a little bit deeper, it signals the body and the nervous system that a change is about to take place. If the right arm is overhead or behind you, even if it's down by the side, go ahead and bring it in front of the face for support. If the left hand is on a block, slide the left hand to the left side of the bolster. And then press into both hands to slowly lift the chest. Take a big inhale, lengthen the spine. Move in any way that feels natural. And then turn to face the bolster with one hand on each side. Inhale to lift the heart, creating length and space. Exhale, walk the hands down on either side of the bolster. Rest the chest, the belly, the diaphragm right on top of that bolster for support. You can turn on either cheek, facing the head either towards the knees or away. So if you're facing in the opposite way from your knees, that's going to be a pretty deep twist. And if that feels good to you, then you're giving yourself exactly what you need. If it feels like too much, turn the head in the same direction as the knees. Let your arms be at rest, right along with the belly, the chest, even the diaphragm. If it feels good, you can kind of cradle the bolster a little bit, hugging onto it like a pillow. As we come into this twist, we know the spine is the most important channel in our body. So even though this is a subtle practice, we're bringing a significant amount of care to that important line of energy today. We've side stretched, we're twisting, back bending, folding. All of these principles of movement are a way to honor the many ways that the spine moves and that it supports your body. Start to notice if your shoulders begin to slide up towards your ears. Think about relaxing the shoulders, releasing any tension. As you rest in this posture for a few more moments. Invite the next breath to be a little bit deeper, a little more full. Draw the breath in, deep into the belly. Bring the hands to either side of the bolster. And then press into the hands to lift the chest, grow tall. And then turn to face the front of your mat. And let's just come into easy pose for just a moment. The hands come onto the knees. Grow tall, take a big inhale. Exhale, let it go. Blink the eyes open, noticing the early effects of your practice today. And then we're going to roll onto the hands and knees. Bring the big toes together, open the knees out wide apart. And we're going to come into supported child's pose. So some of us will leave the bolster down where it is. Others will prefer to bring a block underneath the bolster to elevate it. So you're going to make a choice that feels right for you. And you have the option here to bring arm pillows under the arms, or you can kind of cradle the bolster if that feels good. And then turn one cheek down onto the bolster, noticing how you feel. We have a lot of options here. You want to relax the tops of the feet down into the mat. Would you like a blanket underneath the feet?
No.
Okay, how about underneath the knees? No? Okay. I'm going to bring one on each leg. There we go. See how that fits. Okay, the fronts of the kneecaps. So as you settle into your child's pose, notice how you're feeling. If you're using a block and the elevation feels too high, you can bring the block down to the next level. The blocks have, of course, 3 levels. You could even use a blanket as elevation for the bolster if that feels like the right thing to do. And as you start to settle into the pose, notice if you're gripping anywhere in the body. If your knees are really sensitive, be sure you place a blanket underneath the kneecaps. And if you have a history of injury to your knees, you can even take like a rolled up blanket and bring it behind the knees for support. And that way you're not going quite as far to the knee joint. The hips can rest back toward the heels or a blanket as you walk the hands forward. You can cuddle the bolster in towards your chest. And as you rest that one cheek down, let the arms rest. We take our first forward fold into this supported version of child's pose. Just allow the chest to drape between the thighs. Do you want to try moving the block? See how that does. Let the belly flow forward. And you can sense the forward fold quality in this shape. As you pour the pelvis down over the thighs and you place the chest down. It really is just symbolic of turning inward. It's like a child turning in to take a rest. And this really is a time that you give yourself permission, knowing that you deserve this love and this compassion. For these days that we share together in this training, I want you to think about being unafraid of giving yourself the time, the kindness, the compassion that you deserve. This is your time to really turn inside, finding your own breath again. Allowing whatever is not necessary in this moment to wait. There's no urgency. We're not in a hurry. Notifications can wait. To-do list can wait. All your responsibilities, they can and they will wait. Just having that sense of trust and faith that all of those things are going to be better served and honored by taking out these moments for yourself. So if you've been resting one cheek down with the eyes closed, go ahead and lift that cheek and turn the opposite cheek down for support. We do this because we really want to make sure that we're honoring both sides of the neck. And slowly, you're going to begin to deepen the breath. Walk both hands in. Press into the hands to lift the chest. And we're going to move some of the blankets out of the way. Roll back onto the sit bones. Swinging the legs out to the side. And we're going to set up for our back bend of the day. So what you're going to do is take your second bolster and line it up with the first bolster. So we almost create a runway. And imagine that you can do this moving mindfully, keeping a little bit of the energy that we've created in our practice. So we don't want to break the relaxation in our transition. And then you're going to bring a block a little bit past the second bolster where the feet can rest. So you're going to sit on the bolster, extend your legs down towards me, scoot down. The feet will rest on the block. You can even pad the block with a blanket if that feels good. So to do that, we're going to scoot this a little closer. You'll take the strap and you're going to slip the strap over the feet. So we want the strap to be tight enough that you feel secure, kind of like a hug, but not so tight that you have pain or discomfort. And it's going to go right over the shins or maybe the ankles. You want to make sure that the metal buckle is not irritating the skin. And then you're going to begin to lay back over the bolster, coming into a back bend. So you want the shoulders to be on the ground or off of the bolster. And then the head comes back down. It's a deep back bend. You can always use a blanket here for support. Would you like a blanket under your head? Okay. So you'll see we have the chest rolling open, the collarbone spread wide, the arms cactus out to the sides. And if you begin to realize that your breath is shallow and this is highly uncomfortable for you, you can come out of the pose and put some padding underneath the head. Remember that we want the body to be fully supported. Not holding on to any tension anywhere. Maybe you've cactused the elbows. Maybe the arms are just stretched out to the side. Let the legs fall into the support of the strap. Allow your body to rest in this shape. This is just the most subtle of an inversion, as the energy flows from the feet toward the heart, throat, and even the crown of the head. And you're also getting a really nice sense of gentle opening through the upper chest, a gentle back bend, knowing that these restorative poses are never going to be one size fits all. Depending on our bodies, the props that we have, we just make do on any given day for ourselves. Allow yourself to rest right where you are. Feeling the lift of your spine. As you start to bring your awareness to your breath, even in this shape. For some of us, we may even feel that we can draw in more or deeper breaths in this position. One of the best gifts that we receive from practicing yoga is that we get this chance to really learn what's going on inside of ourselves. So in restorative yoga, we're holding the poses for longer periods of time than we would in a power flow class. And we're experiencing opening and not deep sensation. And in this opening, we get this time and this space to really observe what's happening in the mind. What are the tendencies of our own thought patterns? You notice where the mind goes and when it goes. And then you notice your own ability to bring it back to this present moment. To just feel your body in this position that it's in, and to take care of yourself noticing each breath, and experiencing the rise and the fall of every breath. Start to deepen your breath. Begin to bend your right knee, slip your right foot out from the strap, and then bend your left knee and slip your left foot out from the strap. Place your feet flat on your bolster, and then open your feet out as wide as the mat. Press down to the feet and lift the hips almost like bridge pose, pressing both of the bolsters out of the way. And as you press them off to the side, lower slowly one vertebrae at a time back down to the mat. Then pause and give yourself a breath, kicking the bolsters completely out of the way and bringing the legs flat down onto the mat. If you're cold, I invite you to cover up with a blanket. Maybe use a blanket underneath the head. And Shavasana, final resting pose. Practicing at home, feel free to stay in Shavasana for as long as you can. Thank you for sharing your practice with us today. The light in me honors and appreciates the light in you. Namaste.